Hello everyone and welcome to the BOSSLM Deep Dive, and today we'll be discussing snow plans. And thanks for joining us. And just so you know, your microphones are muted so we can keep the background noise down on the conference. But if you do have questions, feel free to use the question toolbar and submit those questions. A couple points throughout the demonstration and deep dive, I'll pause and take a look at if we have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer any of those. Any that we don't get, I will follow up with you guys afterwards, or if you don't think of any or think of anything afterwards, feel free to submit support tickets as well. We'd be happy to help you out there. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So today we'll be talking about snow plans. And so a little bit of background on this is last year we introduced a brand new set of snow features in BOSS. And if you've not yet seen the introduction video on snow or the two deep dives that we did last year, or if you're a brand new client, and I see some of you on the call that are brand new clients have maybe not seen that yet, I definitely encourage you to take a look at those. Those are available on the support site, and get familiar with the snow plans and the snow features. And today we'll be looking more deeply at snow plans, which is an improvement upon the original set of snow features that we released last year. As with any new improvement to software, and especially something as large as the snow features that we introduced, we always get suggestions, and we appreciate those, and we always find out and figure out ways that we can continue to make it better. And snow plans is one of those things that we soon figured out, oh, we could improve upon the original snow features. And so this snow plan was an improvement to that, and helps you with the planning aspect. And we soon figured out that, okay, the planning and things could be better, and we could make it more efficient. And so these snow plans are to do just that. These were introduced in version 7.4, and a powerful solution to really meet that need around planning for snow. And that's what we're going to go ahead and discuss today. So what are they? What do they do? So basically, as a way to kind of get the background introduction here, a snow plan lets you assign crews to properties ahead of time, and use this plan to generate the work for snow events. So we have the crew and property assignments that we can make now prior to an event. So this allows us to plan for a snow event and then generate the work for that event from plans. So now when you hit the generate work button on the event, there is a new dialog that pops up and that says, oh, you can choose to generate this work based on a plan. If you recall, any work in events just went all into an unassigned bucket, and for every event you had to assign the work and how you wanted to perform it. But now you can have a standard snow plan. So this way, a standard event you can deploy according to how you plan to work that event. Of course, you can still change things, much like the default schedule in the green season. It kind of preloads it for you, but then you can still go ahead and change it. And the next point here is this does allow you to plan for different scenarios. So you don't just have one snow plan, you can have many snow plans. And so this allows you to set up plans for various scenarios. And we'll take a look at some examples of those that I thought of in the next slide here. But these last 2 points, instead of just creating a snow plan from scratch, which of course you can do, you can also save a plan as another plan. So you can save it, make changes to it as a whole new plan. And then you can also save past events as a snow plan. So that can be really powerful as well. So maybe at the beginning of the year, you don't really have a plan yet, or a storm comes early and before you've planned everything out. You can still generate the work without plans, and then maybe after an event, you can save that event as a plan, or you make changes that, oh, okay, this is a good idea, maybe we should implement those changes going forward. You can go back and save those past events as plans as well. So some examples of snow plans. Like I mentioned, you can set up different scenarios, and you can have multiple snow plans. You can have like a normal night event, kind of your normal standard. This is how we deploy. Maybe you have a daytime, and you have to order things differently, and priorities are different during a daytime or versus a nighttime event. Those are pretty common examples within the snow industry. Deploying day versus night. You can also maybe have an assault-only event where, okay, we just got ice, we didn't get a full snowstorm necessarily, but we need to deploy just our assault trucks. It doesn't have to be just assault, it could be just the walkway crews, or you can create these plans however you need to. You can maybe create your own custom levels. Internally, you know, a level 1 storm is this way, level 2 is this, and you can name them however you want. So you can have your own level storms. Maybe it's just a dusting, and you deploy differently than, of course, maybe a blizzard. So any of these different examples might be a good way of using a snow plan. And you can have many examples of within these. So very, very flexible, and the ability to create as many snow plans as you want. So what does the snow plan process look like? We'll take a look at in a bit, and actually I'll go ahead and demonstrate all of this, but just as an overview, what is the snow plan process? So when you create a brand new snow plan, plans are created from the sold snow work. So just like the season screen, and just like how the event would pull in all of your sold snow work, the plan does the same way. So you would load the work, and it's going to find all of your sold snow work based on your service categories and such, and pull that into the plan. And then you can go ahead and make those assignments. And it looks and acts just like the normal event does. So it should be very familiar, similar buttons and process to assigning work. So the event is then created when it snows, just like it normally did before, and then, like I mentioned, the event work is generated for the event based on a snow plan, instead of it all going to the unassigned buckets. So now when it snows, it's much faster to deploy the crews, as now we're deploying based on a plan that we've already preset up once, instead of having to do that for every single event. And even multiple plans can be used throughout the course of an event. So for example, because we all know how accurate the weathermen are, maybe they call for a light event, but then all of a sudden it dumps a ton of snow and you got to reassign, and your original plan, that's thrown out the window. You got to kind of reroute, and maybe you already have a blizzard plan set up. So you can regenerate the work based on the blizzard plan. So multiple plans can be used in the event. Or maybe you have a separate plan for salting versus plowing. You can generate multiple plans for an event. And then the event is still worked the same way. So it just pre-assigns everything, and now throughout Boss Mobile and such, logging all the time and material, the event is still worked as normal. And then, like I mentioned earlier, if you make adjustments throughout the storm, you can save the event as a new snow plan, or save over the original snow plan if you feel that is necessary. So this allows you to save time and reduce the number of hours preparing for the event. And you only have to now prepare once rather than assigning it for every single event. So obviously a huge improvement and a great enhancement to the Snow portal here within Boss. And a couple notes here as far as requirements. This was introduced in version 7.4.0, so you do need to have version 7.4.0 or greater installed on your Boss site in order to have the snow plan functionality. And before you can set up a snow plan, there are a couple prerequisites. You do have to have snow zones defined. You do have to have properties within those snow zones. And your services do have to be mapped to the service categories that the snow features use. And if you don't know how to do that or have not done that yet, There was the first deep dive that I did on snow back last year that covers all those three and more setup related things that aren't necessarily required for snow plans. But there was one deep dive dedicated to all of that. And then there's also the reference guide as well that can help you do that. But before snow plans will work, you do have to have those things set up, because the snow plans and the snow events are based on these things, the snow zones and the service categories. If we look at just a couple screenshots, and then we'll dive into going ahead and demonstrating it. So the snow plan module, you can see here I've got my snow plan tab, and the snow module allows me to look up my snow plans, and then also where I would go into then click on the name of it and edit my snow plan. So I can have snow plans for each of my branches. I can look it up by plan name or by what zones they might include. There's even a notes field for the snow plans, which you can also use to look up as well. And then if I were to click on one of those, then I would be brought to my snow plan screen. And this is where I can view my snow plan as it's currently set up. So this is my normal snow plan, and I can see that, all right, here's all of the assignments by crew and the order and such that I have for this particular plan. And then if I were needing to edit this, there is an edit plan button, which allows you to go in and make edits. And I'll talk about this some more, but while we're in editing, you can still use the snow plan, and it's going to use the previous published version of the snow plan. So this way you can make changes and have it in what we call edit mode, and make these changes, and then go back and republish it. And we'll look at that in just a moment. So let me go ahead and bring up my boss window, and before I jump into a demonstration, do I have any questions so far? Anything we've covered yet so far? I'll pause just a second. I'm not seeing anything here at the moment. All right, I'm not seeing anything. Sounds good. I will continue to check on that as we go through this. So let's go ahead and take a look at Boss. So log into the site. And I'm going to go to the Snow portal and the Snow Plan tab. So here are my snow plans. So this is my snow plan module, and like I mentioned already, you can look up plans by name, by zone, and take a look at the notes and such. One other thing is you can have inactive plans. So you can delete them if you need to, or if you want to save them for reference, you can just inactivate them as well. You can look up active and inactive. So here's the snow plan module. So I've got some of these set up, but let's go ahead and create a brand new one. And of course, we've got our green plus button up here at the top that I will go ahead and add a new snow plan. And when I select that, I'll go ahead and give it a name. So for this example, I'm just going to let's do a daytime event. And this is for the Chesterfield branch. This will be active. And I'll just put in some notes here, just in the case of a daytime event. But whatever notes you want about maybe how these plans can be, how they would be used. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And so now I have a new snow plan. And you can see this one's blank, obviously, because I've not yet started it. So I'm going to go ahead and go ahead and jump into edit mode like I mentioned. So this snow plan is blank. I could delete it if I want to. I could obviously save it and go back and come back to it later. But since this one has never been published, which it so nicely tells me there, I can go ahead and edit it. And a couple other things to mention as far as edit mode. Only one person can edit the plan at a time. So if one of my coworkers were to log in and take a look at this plan, it would show back on the snow plan page, which if I jump back here, that I'm logged in as Jeff, that Jeff is the editor. And since I am Jeff, I do have the ability to resume editing. But this button would not be available for someone else. So only one person can edit the plan at a time. That way things don't get overlapped or messed up. Just as a point of reference, if I were to leave this in edit mode for greater than an hour, it would allow someone else to come in and take over the editing. But that would mean I had not done anything within an hour. So again, that's just protection there so that two people aren't overriding the same information and trying to edit the same plan. And it will warn you there, and it won't let you get into the edit screen if someone else is editing. So in this edit page, I've got edit notes. So this allows me, again, to keep a log of notes related to what I'm editing, and so I'll just put that in there, and I'll show you where that comes up. And it says these notes appear in the plan's history once you publish your changes. So every time you publish it, it does publish the notes in a history log that allows you to see, okay, what changes were made and maybe reference that. So the first thing I would do would be to load my work, and in order to do that, I would go ahead and include service categories and zones. And so service categories, plowing, salting, shoveling. I'll just go with those standard kind of service categories for now, and I won't do drifting work. And I will include both zones. And now when I click load work, this is going to go ahead and find all the snow jobs based on the properties in these zones and in these categories that have work available. And you can see it dumped it all into the unassigned bucket. So it works the same way that the event used to. Now we're just doing this on a plan, and we're doing this once instead of doing this for every single event. These other buttons up here do allow me to do a couple other things. Obviously, remove all work is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to delete everything on here. Maybe I need to start over for some reason. I can remove everything. The remove expired jobs. Because I just started this one, I don't have any expired jobs. But let's think about a scenario here where I set up this plan for this year, and then next year, I already have a plan, but the contracts are different, and maybe some contracts didn't renew or they canceled or something. I still can use the same plan. So I have a starting point to go on by next year based on what I already did the year before. But if there were properties in here that did not come back or did not renew, there would be a red X here indicating that that job has expired and there was no new job that came along that replaced it. So it wasn't renewed, essentially. And so there's no job up to back up this particular work. And so next year, I might see some red X's if, for example, Churchill Park didn't decide to do work with us again next year. So that remove expired jobs allow me to go ahead and clean that up for subsequent years. Or maybe someone cancels mid-season and you want to just remove that one instead of removing everything. It does allow you just to remove the expired jobs. And these green check marks say all these are good, so I don't have any expired here, but there would be some red check marks. And to show you an example of that, if I go back to the screenshot of the snow plan, here's an example of this warning icon. So in this case, the corporate square job, that has expired. Maybe it is expired because the end date, we've gone past the end date and maybe they didn't renew it for whatever reason. It's expired. So that does warn me there, and that remove expired jobs button would allow me just to remove those two that are in red. And oh, I skipped a button there, reset to plan, and that button allows me to reset all this assignment back to the previous published version of the plan. So maybe if I make some changes and oh no, weren't good changes, I can reset it back to the plan. So now let's go ahead and assign work. This looks very familiar. Ticket icon, drop down the list, and I go through and assign this to the different crews that I want to do this particular work. And I'm just going to go through and assign a few more things here. And let's do one more. So now I've got a few things assigned. I've got stuff assigned up here at the top. And these buttons, again, should look familiar. I can change the assignment, reassign the work to the crew, and I can also change the order here. So maybe if I wanted to make Applebee's first, I can go ahead and bump that up and change the order just like I could within the event. And so now I've got this all set up. And I don't have to necessarily assign everything. In this case, I've got some stuff here in as unassigned. That way, if I go to use this plan in the case of an event, that would all go to the unassigned bucket, and these would all be pre-assigned. So it's very flexible. It just depends on how you want to do it. And obviously, I only got a few examples here. There'll likely be a lot more if you've got a lot more snow properties within these particular zones. So now I can go ahead and save the event. And it's telling me here, before you publish, be sure to enter notes about your changes, which I did up there at the top. And so I'm going to go ahead and publish it. So I'm going to go ahead and straight publish it. I could go ahead and save it. Yes, I do want to do that. So now I have this daytime event published, and I can see the date and time it was published and by who published it. And this just allows me for reference to see how this particular plan is set up. So now let's see how this works for an event. And thank you there alerting me. That does look like we've got a few questions. So thank you. Let's take a look at these before we jump into that. So how do I view this on my system? First of all, version. You need to know, again, that you're on version 7.4.0 or greater. And by default, the Snow Plan tab is found within the Snow Portal. So if you don't have anyone assigned the Snow Portal, then you either need to do that or send us a support ticket and we can help you with that. And next, can customers be assigned to more than one branch? No, properties are assigned to branches, and properties are only assigned to one branch. And next question, again referring to branches, in the drop-down, can you select all branches, or do you have to recopy it and recreate it for each branch? So again, the properties are different based on the different branches. So you could copy a plan to another branch, but it's not going to necessarily work because the work is different and your properties are different across your branches. But you can save plans as a new plan, like I mentioned, but going across branches is not going to work because obviously the different properties. Snow plans are by branch. Again, the reason for that is because it's based on the snow zones and snow events, which are by branch, which again, BOSS is based on a branch model. So very consistent with how BOSS is currently set up. And The next question is, why would you not remove expired jobs from the snow plan? In other words, why is that an option? So that is an option because they originally weren't expired. So within that snow plan, they originally had a job with us. If they didn't, it wouldn't even show up there. It wouldn't even be loaded into the plan. But eventually, maybe the jobs, it goes past the job's end date, or the job gets canceled, or the next year in the example I mentioned, that job doesn't come back. It's still in the plan because it was originally there in the plan. So you would use that button to go ahead and remove it. And just as a point of clarification, if I don't edit that plan and the job did get canceled, because it's canceled and there is no job to back it up, it is not going to generate the work in the event. So if you cancel the job, it's no longer going to generate work. So you're not working at jobs that are canceled. That button is simply there to clean up the plan. You could leave all those jobs in there. It's not going to affect anything. It's not going to generate the work for those. It just won't come back if it's canceled or expired. And one more question here, will the job expire if you complete it? So the jobs expire after the end date. So if the job is past its end date, or if it's canceled, it will expire in those two ways. So good questions. All right, so back to generating the work, and thanks for participating and asking the questions. I'll check back on the questions there at the end after I finish up demonstrating. So I've got this snow event 17 here. Let's pretend it snowed on May 27th, and I sure hope it didn't for any of you. So I've got this event here. Event screen looks the same. It all works the same way. The generate work button, when I press it though, I will have a new option. Instead of it just generating the work into unassigned by itself, I now have the option to choose which snow plan I want to generate the work by. So I would go ahead and pick which snow plan. And again, these would be all my active active published plans. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one I just created, the daytime event. And let's go ahead and generate work. And before I leave this screen, I'll just note here that I do have this checkbox here that says remove work from event that is pending, canceled, or awaiting approval. So this allows me to generate work multiple times, like I mentioned. So if I were to generate this by the daytime event plan and then come back and, oh, we now need to call it a blizzard and deploy it and rearrange it like a blizzard. If I check to remove work from the event that is pending, canceled, or awaiting approval, it's going to do that. So I'll explain that more, but anything that's not yet been worked, which in this case is pending, canceled, or awaiting approval, it's going to go and remove that from the event and then replace it with the work that's in the plan that you're generating it according to. So that'll make a little bit more sense if we go a few steps farther along in the process here. So let's generate. And it says, thank you, work items generated successfully, please view them. So let's go take a look at the dashboard, choose event, it's event number 17. And, oh, this was already an event in use. Bad example. Sorry about that. I should have just created a brand new event. So let's do one for today. And I'll just do the same thing. Daytime event, generate work. That's why I was seeing that checkbox there, because I was already using the event. Sorry about that, I should have known that. Let's take a look at event 18. And here we go. So this should look very familiar. We can now see that it generated the work. based on my snow plan. So now everything is already pre-assigned that I went through and assigned, and then anything that I left in unassigned is down here in the unassigned bucket, which I could then go and assign to particular crews. So in this case, I can go ahead and do that, and now I would work my event just like I normally would. Again, saving a lot of time there, and instead of having to manually do that for every single storm. Now, since I made those changes, I mentioned that we have the ability to save this event as a plan, and I can see that button down here at the bottom. So I can go ahead and just call it the modified daytime event. And now if I were to come back to my snow plan, it brings me there. And now I can see it now save this new snow plan with that work that I assigned there for Clock Tower Plaza. So very powerful, and the ability to kind of go back and forth there with the snow plans. And now would be a good time to explain that checkbox again. So now if I come back to this snow event 18, click generate work, I see that I have that checkbox. And now I could say, oh, let's go and do it by the Blizzard plan. And this would now say, all right, remove anything that's impending, which in this case would be everything, and reassign it all based on the Blizzard plan, which if I go ahead and do that, come back to my event, I now have everything reassigned. So Snow Event 18 is now all reassigned based on the Blizzard plan, and nothing's unassigned at this point. All right, so what about work that's not in a plan? And work that is not in a plan, that's not a problem. So if I don't have plans, you don't have to use the snow plan. Of course, obviously it's going to save you a lot of time. But if you don't use a snow plan or don't put the work in a snow plan, it's just going to default to unassigned work. So it's not going to be pre-assigned, but it's not. You're not going to forget it either. It's not going to. If you don't put it in a plan, it doesn't mean you're not going to still be able to work it. It'll just be in the unassigned here, and you would go back and assign it for each event. And then what about jobs that get canceled mid-season or don't get renewed? I already explained that. In that case, if they're still in the plan, they just will not be generated because there's no contract in place to work against. So it will not appear here at all. Which again, if why you're looking at this and look like something's missing, it'd be a good idea to go, if you did it by a plan, check the plan and make sure that you can verify that the job hasn't expired or hasn't been canceled or something like that. And we looked at saving this event as a plan. Now let's go ahead back and look at that one third and final way that you can also create snow plans, and that is by saving a plan as another plan. So if I take a look at my Blizzard plan here, which here's a perfect example, this job has expired, and if I hover over it, it tells me why the job has ended. So if I were to click on this job and take a look at it, it's probably past its end state at this point. If I go to the bottom here, I see that I have a Save As button in addition to Save. And the Save As allows me now to give it a new name. I'll just call it Blizzard Option 2. And I now have saved that plan as an entirely new plan. So now maybe I can want to make some changes, edit it, and now I have two different versions of it. So I can very easily create plans very quickly instead of going through it all manually like I did originally. But I can see that it's important to to know how that works. And if I were to go back to this one, I would want to go ahead and say, yes, this is active. Because I saved it based on an already previously published plan, it is already in published mode. But if it were not, I could have that publish button down there at the bottom. I could delete a plan. I'm sure you want to delete it. Yeah, at this point I would just go ahead and delete it. So now I no longer have that one I just created. So that pretty much wraps up the demonstration of creating a snow plan, saving a plan as a plan, saving the event as a plan, and obviously demonstrating how to generate work based on those plans. So let me see if we have any other final questions. And let's see, if you don't assign a property to a plan, do they not get serviced? Good question, and I did mention that, so may have come in before I mentioned that, but yeah. So if you don't assign a property to a plan, they will just go into the unassigned bucket, which you would then have to manually assign to a crew to go work. Can you generate paper timesheets from a plan? Another question that came in. No, the snow plan is based around Boss Mobile. That's how it was originally designed and how it was requested to be designed. If you needed to generate paper timesheets, you'd have to kind of come up with another solution around that. We can look at ways of printing out a report. I can't obviously promise anything, but that may be a future improvement that we can look into. Great idea. But no, the snow plan and snow portal there is based around Boss Mobile. So thanks for asking. Once you generate an event, does it automatically create the tickets or work orders? So this kind of goes back into the original snow process, which we didn't really cover in this particular deep dive. That's fine. I'll kind of go back and explain it since we've got a few minutes here. And so once an event is generated and worked, you would create the tickets after the fact. So that is done through the ticketing stage. So the whole purpose behind this new snow portal is giving you the flexibility of not having to generate the tickets ahead of time, because you don't know if it's going to be a 1 to 3 inch storm or a 3 to 6 inch storm. So the snow plan does not have anything to do with tickets at all. Working the event through on Boss Mobile and such, and logging time and materials, and then ticketing it, that's all covered in a previous deep dive, so I won't go through and demonstrate it. But if you have further questions on that, contact us via eSupport and we can point you to that deep dive video or answer any specific questions. And one final question here, are there new and improved snow reports coming anytime soon? So not sure exactly what type of reports you're necessarily talking about, but obviously any of the existing pivot reports show you all your hours and materials and all that. If you're talking about weather data type reporting, that is on our agenda for this summer. So the plan is to have that for the next snow season. So obviously, again, I'm not the product manager, so I can't make any promises on that, but I do know that is in the progress, and we are working towards that for this next snow season. All right, so I think that is all the questions. And so we will go ahead and wrap up. Thanks for joining us today. And again, if you have more questions, send us an eSupport ticket via the eSupport website. And also check out the snow season reference guide. It documents everything that we talked about today with screenshots and directions on how to do it and all of that. So that is all contained within the reference guide, and then also those previous deep dives that I did kind of gives you maybe a little bit more context on what we talked about today as far as snow plans and how it fits into the overall scope of the snow process in BOSS. So again, thanks for coming, and I hope this was informative, and hope you enjoyed it, and have a great day.